Since the beginning of time, man has searched the earth for evidence of its past. But while some have looked for clues to the mystery, one man has found the way to bring the mystery back to life.
Good morning, good evening, good night, good morrow, ladies and gentlemen, and assorted other identities. This is My Friend Alex Hasn't Seen. I am your host, Evan, and this is My Friend Alex.
Hi, my name's Alex.
Today, Alex has not seen Jurassic Park, but we are going to remedy that.
This is true.
The format of this show is basically we're going to do a little pre-review, wherein he describes what he thinks the movie is. Then we will break, watch the movie, come back, and discuss. Now, Alexander, can you give me a plot synopsis of what you think Jurassic Park? Well, first of all, I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and say, how in God's name have you not accidentally seen Jurassic Park just out in the world?
Yeah, it's a good question, Evan, and I think
Thank you.
it's kind of funny, right? Because at this point, the movie when did Jurassic Park come out? In the 90s, like the mid 90s, right?
93.
Yeah, like early mid 90s. So, although here's the thing I'll say about this, right? So I was born in 94, right?
Yes.
So, I think what happens a lot of times for people, and maybe this is a shared experience that our viewers can relate to, is you're born a year or two or three after a movie comes out, and you don't always like see that movie right away, because I think some of these movies, I don't know if like Jurassic Park was immediately recognized as like a cultural icon for years, or if it was like something that came back in, you know what I mean? Like it came back in vogue in like maybe the late 90s or early 2000s.
Well, there was a pretty steady stream of sequels through the 90s. Like there was Jurassic Park 2, and Jurassic Park 3 was like in the early 2000s.
Okay.
So I think Jurassic Park 2 was like 96 or 97. And then, of course, there was the Roland Emmerich Godzilla movie in 98, which was ripping off Jurassic Park. But
yeah,
it's just one of those things where, I mean, whenever I discovered that you hadn't seen it, I think I said, like, how do you not just, like, see it on cable or something? Because I know you don't currently have cable, but you did.
No. So, my parents had cable. I feel like I'm going to move this a little. Anyway, my parents had, because it's like shadowing my mouth. Anyway, sorry.
You're beautiful.
Yeah, my parents have cable, and they had cable when I was growing up. But, yeah, I don't know. I do agree that it is like a little bit odd that it's on cable all the time, and somehow yet I still have not seen it. And it's kind of like the same thing with Back to the Future. It took me a long time, and I mean I saw that a long time ago now, but it did actually take me a long time to actually like sit down and watch the Back to the Future movies, even though they were also on cable all the time. I had to like intentionally go and find them on, I think they were on Netflix. I don't remember if they were on a streaming service or if I like rented them or how I watched them the first time, but I did eventually watch them.
Was it not? Did I not show you Back to the Future like on DVD?
It's possible. It's definitely possible that the first time I saw it was with you.
Because I feel like that was
perhaps
pre-streaming.
I mean, Netflix was around.
But like the DVD Netflix.
No.
When was the first time you saw Back to the Future?
Oh, like high school?
Really?
Yeah. Anyway, so back to the Jurassic Park, aka the past. So I have not seen Jurassic Park. I don't know how it has managed to happen. I genuinely, it's one of those things where it's like a gap in my cultural knowledge, I feel like. Yeah. And on the list of other movies, like it's on that list of movies, right? Like The Godfather and like a lot of what's the Christmas movie?
Die Hard.
The action Christmas movie?
Have you not seen Die Hard?
I've never seen Die Hard.
Really?
So
Okay, so
here's the
this
thing.
is good, content
yeah,
for
I'm giving you
us.
future material. Yeah, we'll let people speculate as to which movies we're gonna do, in the future. But yeah, I haven't seen it. I don't know how I haven't seen it. It's
Okay.
Yeah.
You just haven't.
Yeah.
Well,
just haven't.
it's really interesting because, like, Back to the Future, those movies were, like, obviously 1985, and then I think the second one was 89 or something, and then, like, the third one was 90. So that was...
it was something like
We
that. I
would have
think
been
the second one came out in 88.
too
yeah.
young to see that, and there wouldn't have been, like, sequels coming out
Nope.
as we
Yeah.
were young. But with Jurassic Park, the sequels were still coming out, and so there was, like, still merchandise in stores.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just there was just more stuff to keep it culturally alive, which is interesting. With stuff like the Godfather, like you say, it's it's interesting that you say Jurassic Park in the same list as the Godfather. Because The Godfather is, like, this, like, really artistic sort of, like, capital F film.
Right.
And Jurassic, like, I can see why someone would be, like, intimidated or think it's pretentious or something like that. But Jurassic Park
Sure.
is a blockbuster. It's a creature feature. It's honestly not that, it's done in a really, like, smart way. But it ain't, Shakespeare.
Right. Okay.
Right.
So
now that we've exhausted that line of conversation.
here's my plot synopsis.
Yes, give it to me. Lay it on me.
For Jurassic Park. So I know kind of the idea. Actually, somehow the movie hasn't been spoiled for me in all these years either. So
Well, there are
my thought is,
dinosaurs
I know the general idea is that they find a way to, like, clone dinosaurs.
Okay, so this is going to be my first question for you, is how do you think the dinosaurs... It was going to be how do you think the dinosaurs come about? So, obviously you know that they're cloned. How do you think they get the dinosaur DNA?
Yeah, my thought is, like, fossils or some shit.
Fossils
like,
or
they
some
find like a fossil somewhere in, like, Africa or something, and it's like, oh wow, we found this fossil in, like, Egypt or some shit. Like, it's always some, like, weird, like, oh, it's this, and what's gonna happen? So hear me out. So it's gonna be like, like in those action movies when the main character goes to the Middle East, right? And it's like desert shots, right?
Right.
And they're like
there's, like, exotic singing.
that music is playing,
Yeah.
right? Like that, like, very, like, oh, this is Muslim territory, or
Yeah.
this is, like, brown people live here. You know what I mean? and
This
then there's gonna be, like, some dude in, like, a cultural outfit
Right.
appropriate to that area, and he's gonna be like, hello my friend, like, in kind of an accent, but, like, a very vague accent that's not really, like, doesn't really tie him to any particular place
Okay.
or culture. He's gonna be like, hello my friend, welcome. And it's gonna be like, they're gonna, like, wander into, like, this village or whatever, and they're gonna be like, we found this dinosaur fossil from, like, a bajillion years ago, and it's, like, perfectly preserved, and, like, you can still get, like, DNA from it. It's not just, like, a rock. And that's how they're gonna find the DNA. And maybe so maybe it's not Africa, maybe it's, like, like the jungle in South America, or something like that.
I also have a question. The fact that you said a bajillion years ago, how long ago do you think dinosaurs walked the earth?
Well, if we wanted to get technical,
non-avian dinosaurs.
I was gonna say, if we want to get technical,
Yeah.
Dinosaurs are still walking the earth. They're
course.
called chickens.
Well, it's not just
We eat them all the time.
but how long ago do you think non-avian dinosaurs walked the earth? Just give me a number.
Ballpark estimate?
Just give me a number.
I'm gonna say, like, as recent as, like, 100,000 years ago.
Okay, that's not wrong. When do you think that the Cretaceous extinction event took place?
Are you talking about the meteor?
Well, yeah, the event in which the non-avian dinosaurs were made extinct.
I don't know. Like, actually,
Give me a number.
you know, I feel bad because this is something I did know. This is something that I was taught in schools.
Right.
And like, it's just knowledge that my brain had to defragment out
Right.
to fit all of my adult knowledge.
I don't know if that's how the brain works, but yes, okay.
Let's say,
like, you're not wrong when you said 100 million years ago.
yeah. Did I say 100,000? I meant 100 million.
I think you did say 100,000, and I just
meant
tuned
100 million.
out the 1,000 and just heard million because that's just yeah.
Yeah.
We're not young Earth creationists, okay?
No.
Whenever you said 100 million, that gives you a hint because they were around then, but
Non-avian dinosaurs?
That's not the extinction event.
Was it 40 million years ago?
No,
That's
you
my final
overshot
answer.
it.
No.
You overshot it.
I
Anyway,
overshot it.
It doesn't matter. Well, okay, continue with your synopsis. We're really going
So-
down too many lanes here.
Yeah, this is quite the tangent. So my thought is they're gonna go to some non-Caucasian country, right? Because that's what they always do, especially back then when it was like, oh, we don't have to like be. They're like, oh, we're not gonna do this political correctness, so they just like go in like full stereotype on non-white people. And they're gonna be like, we discovered this thing, and then the white scientists, because they're just so much smarter than everyone else, are gonna come in and be like, oh yes, this is a fartosaurus, like whatever. We know exactly what this is. We're gonna, and then some wise guy. I think he's gonna be like a wise guy, kind of, is gonna come in and be like, we're gonna take this and we're gonna recreate the dinosaurs. And there's gonna be like some like crazy crackpot theorist who's gonna be like, dude, we could totally do it. And he's gonna have crazy hair. And he's gonna be like, we could totally do it. We can make dinosaurs again. And then there's gonna be one guy who's gonna be like, I don't know if this is a good idea. I think this might be a bad idea. And everyone's gonna be like, nah, it'll be great. We're gonna make a dinosaur zoo. So they make a dinosaur zoo, because I know that that's part of the thing, is like it was supposed to be like a zoo, right? Like the Jurassic Park was supposed to be like a place where people could go and see dinosaurs, right? So obviously, and then they break out and it's a whole thing. I think the dinosaurs are going to break out, and I don't know where the zoo is, but my guess is somewhere jungle-ish. Like there's trees and stuff. So the dinosaurs are going to break out, and it's going to be like, at first, there's going to be like this one guy who's like, don't tell anyone that the dinosaurs have broken out. This is we can't, like, he's going to be like the business guy, right? He's going to be like, we can't have this PR disaster on our hands. And because he's being such a dick, they try to not make people panic or whatever. They try to not make it like a big deal. And because they don't go and figure it out, because this one guy's like, no, it's not happening, it's not a big deal, they're going to be like, it's just going to get worse, right? Because he's trying to play it down. You know, it's going to be like China with the coronavirus. They're going to be like, no, it's not happening. And then it's way out of control.
I love how you're driving engagement by bringing in buzzwords. China, coronavirus, political correctness. Just get all the tags for this to drive engagement on YouTube.
Yeah, hold on. I have to do the every male podcaster thing. You know what I think about women?
Oh, yeah.
I think they're great, and that's the end of the statement. Anyway,
let's continue, shall we? All right, so that's your plot synopsis.
So yeah, they're gonna get out, and then eventually, some hero is gonna come in, and he's gonna sacrifice himself to save someone from a dinosaur, and then they're gonna figure it out, and they're gonna figure out. I think ultimately they're gonna figure out how to they're gonna cull a lot of the dinosaurs, they're gonna kill a bunch of them, but then they're gonna keep a couple, because they're like, no, this is a good idea, we want to keep it, and also we want sequels to the movie, so we want to keep the dinosaurs alive, so that we can theoretically have them just do the same fucking thing for 4 movies.
Yeah, there are 6 movies.
Yeah, exactly, 6
franchise.
movies, whatever. It's oh wow, at a certain point, maybe we should just acknowledge that the dinosaur theme park thing is a bad idea. Or the dinosaur zoo or whatever. Yeah. Because they just keep on breaking out. Because dinosaurs are pretty powerful and can break fences and stuff.
Okay. So this is a Spielberg movie.
This is a Spielberg movie. Yeah.
Yes. Can you tell me about the cast?
Oh fuck. What's the name of the guy? The main guy. He's got a TV show on Disney Plus. Did you know that he has a TV show on Disney Plus?
It depends on who we're talking about.
What's his name? Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum.
He has,
Yes. Okay.
he has a TV show on Disney Plus.
I did
like
not
a
know that.
documentary show, a docuseries where he goes and experiences different like subculture things, like hobbies and stuff that people are into, and like spends like some time like in that community and learns about it. And he's like, "Oh, this is very interesting." And he does the Jeff Goldblum thing.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you
So I know he's like the
anyone
main.
else?
He's like the main guy. I can't name anyone else off like offhand because I know Chris Pratt's in the new ones, but
Yeah, we're not talking about that one.
we
Okay.
don't have to talk about that.
So this is a very interesting review. I'm trying not to tip my hand here, in my response to
Okay.
your conversation here. But
Okay.
what would you say? What would you say you're looking forward to the most?
Conceptually, I think I'm looking forward to seeing some dinosaurs, man. I like dinosaurs.
Very good. Okay. Well, I guess with that, we will go ahead and break, and then we will regroup, and you can tell me how you feel.
Yeah, I'll go watch the movie and we'll come back and I'll tell you my thoughts.
Yes, we'll have to quiz you on what you got right and wrong. I probably should have been taking notes.
Oh yeah. Well, that's
So
okay. We can
have
watch
that.
it back
Yeah,
and
I'm not gonna.
we'll watch it back and
I'm
be like,
not
"Oh,
gonna
what
watch
did
it.
he say?"
I'm not. Gonna.
No, I probably won't either. It's fine.
All right.
All right, and this is the halftime break, everybody.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
The Black Eyed Peas are gonna come out and
Yeah.
not be,
Yeah.
auto-tuned.
Rihanna's gonna come out and sing "Under My Umbrella," Ella, a. Okay, so
What an artist.
I know we'll be back soon. Thank you guys. Look forward to
Go
part 2.
team.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
And we're back.
Welcome back.
My goodness, it's been through the magic of television editing. I guess
Yeah.
it's not television; it's a podcast.
This is television, straight to your airwaves.
Through the magic of editing, it's been but a moment for you, but for us, it's been hours. It's been
About 3
God,
hours.
so much time has happened.
Yeah,
I ate some dinner. I made myself some chili. I finished a book I was reading.
Oh, that's great. What book?
Galaxy Express 39.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you did.
yeah.
You did mention that. Yeah.
I had a child.
Oh yeah, I actually flew down and met your child. Your child is
Yeah.
already 3 years old. It's amazing how time passes on the internet.
I know. Good gracious. I found someone that was creating a clone of myself, and I fought it to the death
Yeah.
because I'm the only one. I'm the real one.
Speaking of cloning, I just watched a movie
Yes.
about cloning. Actually, well, kind of tangentially.
It's Jurassic Park. All right.
So I watched
wanna-
Jurassic.
Yeah.
I watched Jurassic Park.
I want to get a basic. Like, just tell me your first impression, and then we can go into more detail.
So, I was right about the exotic location, kind of. I mean, Costa Rica and Dominican Republic.
Sure.
And, like the non-white and you like there were very much was like in that very first scene where they were transporting the Velociraptors. There was like very much in that scene there were like people speaking Spanish in the background and stuff. Like I was like, oh, fucking nailed it. And then like the dude on the suit, the lawyer guy on the suit, like getting pulled in on the raft.
Yes.
I was like, nailed it. I'm pretty smart. And I think to some extent, like I was also right about how like the I forget the name of the guy who was like the creating the theme park. You know what I mean?
Hammond.
Like the main, Hammond. He was like a little bit of like a plucky, eccentric guy, and this was like all his idea. And so I feel like maybe I nailed that a little bit in the preview, in the pre.
I mean, you said that we would meet like a crazy scientist, and he's not quite a crazy scientist. He's just a rich guy.
Yeah, he's just a rich guy. He's not a scientist. So I guess there is that. The other people are the scientists, right? So, but my overall, let's talk about overall thoughts of the movie. I thought it was pretty good. I think the beginning is a little boring. Like the kind of setup is maybe too long. For me, and maybe that's just because I've spent too much time getting instant gratification on the internet. And maybe like in the
possible.
90s, this was great. You know, in the 90s,
Well,
this
it is
was
a
perfect.
lot of exposition.
Yeah, there's a ton, like half the movie, the first half of the movie. I remember I had to pause it right when things were starting to get like, the power is going out and the guy's trying to steal the DNA samples, and I was like, wow, I have seen 3 dinosaurs, or like one,
In this movie
really
about
just
dinosaurs.
the one. What were the tall ones again? Tall
The
dinosaurs,
Brachiosaurus.
the long neck, the Brachiosauruses. Yeah, I was like, yeah, we've literally just seen the Brachiosauruses and the Triceratops, and that was like it. You know, like it was like right before the big scene with the T-Rex, where the T-Rex like breaks through the fence and knocks out the car and everything. And I was like, wow, and I paused it, and the movie was already halfway through, and I was like, wow, it took half of the movie to get to the like interesting part.
The part that people think about.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
I did like Jeff Goldblum's character. I thought like, he was, obviously like in that speech where he does the whole, your scientists were so preoccupied with what whether or not they didn't think about whether or not they should. I didn't, obviously everyone had heard that line, right? Like that one's popular. We all know that line.
It's very memeable.
Yeah, but I actually do kind of like that speech from an anti-capitalist point of view, where he's very much he's very like everything's chaos, everything trends toward chaos, entropy, blah blah blah, right? And
this is interesting because the book I think is actually significantly like more cynical and angry, and so. And much more sort of a polemic against like giant corporations going to countries where the legislation and the regulations maybe aren't as strong, and doing stuff just like this. And in the book, Hammond is just a despicable person, whereas in the movie you sort of like you understand where he's coming from.
A little bit. I'm going to get to Hammond in a second because I don't totally understand his motivations. But, so I did like that speech where he's like, and you're, bottling this all up and just fucking selling it, right? And that was kind of like an interesting, like, it's even more in today's world, like, companies have to, like, try to sell everything and money, market everything and all that, and I thought that was kind of like, this is good, yeah.
There is a certain irony of the fact that the merchandising of Jurassic Park, the film, was so successful.
Yeah, when the actual movie is kind of this like scathing rebuke of this, doing bad things and merchandising.
Slap it on a lunchbox.
Yeah.
Or
the slap it on a lunchbox thing was great.
I definitely had a Jurassic Park lunchbox growing up, so
yeah.
I had never actually seen the movie. It was that was the weird thing, was that like even if you hadn't seen the movie, so much of the merchandise was just like totally everywhere. But
Yeah, and so I thought, I liked that aspect of it. And I think there was some interesting like tension. There was some interesting like tense parts of the movie. Of course, I think what's really interesting is I think like you might consider this to be like a family film, right? But
Yeah.
It's interesting because I think in today's world, I think we have a different view of what you think of as like family movies, and realistically, I think most of us, when we say family movie in today's society, we mean kids movie. We don't mean a family movie. You know what I mean? We
right, a
mean,
movie
like,
that everybody in the family can get something out of. I mean, to be fair though, like aren't Marvel movies sort of that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
I mean, I think that would
although,
just say 4-quadrant.
the thing about the Marvel movies though is like they are kind of for kids or like kind of for families, but the reality is like I think there's a little bit too much like they're a little bit more vulgar and a little bit more like they've got innuendo, they've got like lots of bad words, they've got obviously a lot of violence, but I don't it's kind of cartoon violence, so I don't know if it matters that much.
Right. There's no horror in that.
Yeah. And I would say that like this was definitely a light on the horror. Like I don't think it was really a horror film. I think it was a monster film,
It's a movie with horror sequences.
Yeah, like the scene in the kitchen, right, with the kids running away from the velociraptors.
Yeah. Sorry, were you gonna continue?
No, so I think it was I can understand to an extent why it was really like this huge thing, partially just due to the fact that I think Steven Spielberg has this like obviously fanatic crazy following that like they're gonna like people are gonna watch a Steven Spielberg movie. It doesn't really matter what the movie is.
Watch AI. Ooh.
Well,
Ooh.
in the 90s,
Yeah.
if Steven Spielberg made a movie,
Yes.
you were gonna watch it. You know what I mean? Like
This by the way, this came out the same year as Schindler's List. So do with that information what you will.
Interesting dichotomy. Another movie I haven't seen. Maybe we'll do an episode on.
Yeah, I've never seen Schindler's List either. I want to.
Oh no, we'll do a
little
double
heavy.
blind.
Well, but what's kind of interesting is that like I think it's generally agreed upon that the only reason he got to make Schindler's List was because he made a big dinosaur movie, right?
Yeah.
A big 4-quadrant merchandisable dinosaur movie. So
Yeah.
you do one for them and you get one for you.
So I liked the movie, but I did find myself a little bit bored, especially in the beginning, at times. And I think like some of that is maybe symptomatic of the just difference in movie making over the last 30 years now. I mean, that movie's almost 30 years old. It'll be 30 this year. And so I think movies in the year 2022, 2023 move at a kind of just a different pace. And I think filmmakers in the year 2023 kind of understand that you only have really 20 minutes to capture your audience's attention, or they're going to be walking out of the theater, they're going to be turning off, they're going to be pausing the Netflix and walking away, especially because we do have Netflix and
Right.
HBO and all these streaming services that didn't exist 30 years ago. And so it's like, it's really easy. Sorry, I got a notification. It's really easy to pause something, even
And
with
walk
the
in
intent.
and do your laundry or something.
Yeah, like even with the intent maybe of coming back, and then walk away because you're like not, you're maybe a little interested in it, but it hasn't really pulled you in. And then you go do your laundry, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna, like make dinner. I'm gonna do the dishes. I'm gonna do this, and then you come back and you're like, either you don't remember what was happening, or you don't really care enough to like press play again and keep going. And so you really have to like capture that like initial window of people's attention. And like let me just be perfectly clear. I think if I was watching this not, for the podcast, right? I think I might have had a hard time finishing it, like getting through the first third
Now,
or so.
do you think this is just symptomatic of the environment in which you watched it, and if you had seen it on the big screen? Because I mean, they re-release this movie all the time. In
Yeah,
theaters.
I mean,
So, like,
maybe.
if you had seen it like where there were no distractions and like you were more focused in, is this maybe more just a byproduct of your environment?
It could be. It could be very well.
Because
I think.
yeah.
I think that I think the other thing too that you have to kind of acknowledge is like your mindset going in. I can't say like there's a reason why I've never like made the effort to see Jurassic Park, and it's because like movies from the early '90s that like a movie from the early '90s that is never like it's never hard for me to go see Jurassic Park. There's no time like there has never been a time where I couldn't just decide to watch Jurassic Park, which makes it really hard. Paradoxically, a little bit makes it a little bit hard for me to be motivated to like go see Jurassic Park if they're to like spend the time.
There's no like fire that's been lit under your ass.
It's not like with a movie that's in theaters for the first time, and you know, obviously most movies they go to theaters, they don't come back out, they don't get shown in theaters, and it's not like a movie that like, you know, the new Avengers movie or the new Spider-Man movie or the new whatever movie that it's like, oh, I want to see this in theaters with all the sound and the high fidelity and all this stuff, you know, with a group of people. With Jurassic Park, it's like, well, there's no real pressure for me to have to go see this movie at any given time, which like also makes me not really ever go see it, you know, not feel the need to want to watch it.
There's no, it doesn't feel precious.
Yeah. That being said, yeah, this is not necessarily my brand of film. I did enjoy it, but if we hadn't, you know, if you hadn't been like, I want to watch this and make content out of it, I probably wouldn't have watched it.
Okay. It's interesting that you find the first half boring.
Yeah. Why is that?
Well, because it's like, on the one hand, I certainly understand that it's a lot of exposition. However, at the same time, it's also like establishing character and I think the filmmaking and the craft of like how they establish these characters, and you know, let's be clear that, you know, there's a lot of economical storytelling going on. For as much like talking as there is in the movie, it's not necessarily people just sitting there and telling you about their motivations and things. Except for, of course, the scene where Hammond actually does tell you about his motivation.
About the flea circus or whatever.
Yeah. But it's I mean, I do agree with what you're saying about how movies are so much like, there's so much more shit that happens in movies now. However, I guess I'm coming at that from like there's so much shit that happens in movies now.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Let me compare Jurassic Park with a movie that came out, was it last year, the year before? I don't remember.
I don't know what movie you're talking about.
Dune.
Okay.
Dune is a bit of a slow burn.
It is a
You
slow
would agree?
burn, yeah.
But something about the way that Dune is shot, you know, the screenplay, something about it makes it engaging. And it's long. It's as long or longer.
It's
than
longer
Jurassic
than Jurassic Park, yeah.
Like, it's a long movie. And I would argue that maybe, like, not that much more happens in Dune, the movie. Like, but something about the way they told that story was just so much more engaging. At the beginning. I'm not saying that Jurassic Park wasn't engaging once you kind of got
once the
to
dinosaurs
the point where
killing
the
people.
dinosaurs broke out. I think the other thing with Jurassic Park is, even going in, and granted, like, maybe it's not as good, not as authentic a reaction, but like, I don't think anybody going into that movie theater in 1993 was like, oh, this is totally going to be fine and the dinosaurs aren't going to escape. It's like, no, we all know the dinosaurs are going to get out. That's the point. Like,
right.
It was foreshadowed in the first 10 minutes, you know?
That's really interesting, because like, that to me makes that the fact that we all know that dinosaurs are going to get out is what makes that first hour really engaging to me, because there's this dramatic irony element to everything that happens, and I don't think that Spielberg is like you said, like everybody knows that the dinosaurs are going to get out and they're going to start killing people. So it's not like the tension is not from will the dinosaurs get out and kill people. It's from setting up all these sort of ironic Chekhov's guns, basically, that then sort of pay off later.
Yeah. So would you say that this movie, going in, they kind of knew, or like, does it feel to you like it was shot with a sequel in mind? Or do you think it's a fully complete movie?
I happen to know that there was not a sequel book written at the time.
Okay.
I would be surprised and skeptical if someone told me that the studio had absolutely no aspirations of a sequel.
Sure.
Especially when you look at the amount of merch that was generated. But
right.
like from a storytelling perspective, this is sort of a closed loop.
Yeah, I think the only thing I could, there's a couple things I could point to, right? They obviously didn't really tell you. They gave you the hey, these dinosaurs can't survive without humans giving them this essential, this essential nutrient, and so they can't escape the island, because if they do, they're just gonna like go into a coma and die. And then they explain all these things. The only like kind of interesting, very specific and seemingly deliberate shot was when they have like the can of Barbasol.
The Barbasol, yeah,
get covered in the mud.
And it's interesting because that doesn't come into play in the sequels at all.
Yeah, which is like,
maybe it comes
like
into play in the Jurassic World movies, but I sort of try to purge those.
It seems like they were trying to be like, oh, this is going to be important later, and then it wasn't in the movie, in that movie, and I was like, well, maybe this will come back in this movie, or maybe it's something set up for a sequel, and then so it's interesting hearing you say like, yeah, that had nothing to do with the sequels. So.
Yeah, it had not. The only thing, like, I think that there's a line in the Jurassic World, like the latest Jurassic World movie, that said that Dodson got a hold of the can or something. I don't remember.
Okay.
I saw that movie for $6 at a matinee, and it just promptly left my memory.
Yeah, it's not very good, right?
No, it's terrible. All the Jurassic World movies are pretty bad. I mean, the first Jurassic World movie is okay.
Is Dodson supposed to be just like the big villain of the series, or?
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is he's not. But then in the Jurassic World movies, they sort of like retcon him into being the like evil CEO. And so I never even interpreted him in the first movie as being like the CEO of the competitor's company. I thought he was just like an agent, like a leeway between the two of them. Not leeway, whatever the word is that I'm looking
middleman.
for. Yeah, middleman between the company and. But like the fucking Jurassic World movies try to like retcon it into he was actually the CEO, and it's like, why would the CEO be the one that would go to an island in Costa Rica in order to talk to Dennis Nedry? It doesn't make that's moronic. But those are the sequels. We're not talking about the sequels.
So the assumption is that Dennis died, right? Like he was killed.
He got eaten. Yes.
He got eaten by the spitting
by the Dilophosaurus. Yes.
By the Dilophosaurus. Okay. I figured that was the assumption.
Which in reality did not. There's no evidence that it ever spat venom or had the flaps. But we're not talking about. We're not going through a. We're doing a filmic analysis here. We're not doing a paleontological analysis. Because
I will say, back in '93, I think it was a bit of an emerging theory, right? And correct me if I'm wrong. You're the paleontologist amongst us. It was a bit of an emerging. It was a bit of an emerging theory that birds came from dinosaurs. That dinosaurs turned into
so
birds, right?
this had been in scientific circles pretty much understood since the 70s.
Okay.
And it was the understanding of the degree to which dinosaurs were feathered was I think more or less emerging at that time.
Okay.
If you remember the monologue that Alan Grant gives at the beginning, he's pretty much like saying, he's practically looking at the camera and saying, dinosaurs are related to birds. And it's
Yeah.
like, he goes to the kid, just a 6-foot turkey, and all this shit. But
Right.
and then there's they just keep bringing it up, is that they're not monsters, they're animals. They're evading, they're like a flock of birds evading a prey, like all this stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of thing that whenever you get into the sequels, and they specifically chose to ignore the sort of current science about how feathered they should be,
Sure.
that's what gets frustrating. But because at the time, like you said, it was sort of like we had found some specimens, we being humanity. I was not personally involved. We had found some specimens in Mongolia of dromaeosaurids, which are the group to which raptors, velociraptors, and Utah raptors and Deinonychus evolved and belonged to. We had some evidence, but it was not as the years have gone by, the question is really less, is it true that dinosaurs had feathers? And it's more, which dinosaurs had feathers?
Sure.
But I'm sorry, what was the point of your question? You said the emerging science of the feather.
Yeah, the emerging
giant
science
birds.
of like the degree to which they were related to birds. I guess.
Yeah, and in defense of the film's portrayal of dinosaurs, is that it's certainly the one that got, like, up to the point in history, this was the one that got the most right in terms of, like, the horizontal posture. Before it was like T-Rex was always portrayed as being in like a kangaroo posture with its tail dragging on the ground. This is understood to not be true. The fact that they were fast and active animals with potentially with warm-blooded metabolisms. I think scientists prefer not to use the word warm-blooded because it's sort of an oversimplification, and that there's actually a little bit of it's a bit of a spectrum, but I think we can certainly say active metabolisms.
Yeah.
And the intelligence of the velociraptor is, to make it more bird-like.
Yeah, because they are more like they're, I think we always thought it, like before, they were kind of thought of as like, reptiles in every kind of sense of the word.
Well, they are still considered reptiles. Reptiles is a paraphyletic group, not a monophyletic group. But but in terms of, like, they were portrayed as giant lizards, basically.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like reptiles in a very, like, every sense of the concept of reptiles. And I think the only redeeming factor there that let them bend the science a little bit was they were like, well, we filled in the blanks with this frog DNA.
Yeah.
So you can maybe say, okay, well. Yeah, maybe you can bend the rules a little bit just based on the fact
they lean into that in the sequels as well.
Yeah.
But I always felt like that was a little bit of a cop out.
Sure.
Because they're not consistent with that at all. Because there is like the whole, like, they do move in herds, and look at that, it's like a flock of birds evading a predator, and it's like, we now know that the Dilophosaurus, it's like either we're using these animals to understand how their past counterparts would have lived, or we're not. And the movies kind of try to play both teams on that, and it's frustrating. But again, we're doing a filmic analysis. We're discussing the filmmaking in this film.
Yeah. So I cannot for the life of me. First of all, I didn't really know these were, like, based on a book, which is I don't know why I didn't know that. It seems like
Michael Crichton.
Yeah. I didn't fully understand I didn't really fully understand the motivations of the theme park creator. What was his name again? Hammond. I didn't really understand Hammond's motivations very well. He was like, I made a flea park with fake fleas.
Okay, yeah.
And
So
really
basically he says that he wanted to make Jurassic Park because he wanted it to be real, whereas he got his start basically being a huckster, right? Like doing because a flea circus is not, there's no actual fleas in a flea circus. It's just motorized little trapezes and things like that.
Yeah.
So he basically said that he had this sort of dream of like creating something that would make these animals real and that people could reach out and touch, and that sort of is noble motive for things. And it is like as much as this movie does soften Hammond, there it's still sort of, you know, he keeps talking about, you know, spared no expense and things like that.
Yeah.
But of course he does spare expenses when it comes to some things. Like he only hires one guy to do the programming for his entire park system, and that's Dennis Nedry. And of course that ends up biting him in the ass because Dennis Nedry becomes disgruntled and sells him out. And you know, the fact that like he goes for all these flashy things. Like he's basically like a kid, right? Like he goes for like these flashy, like fancy things, but like they end up being deeply flawed in in like actual practical practice, I guess. Because like the Jeeps are on a track, but of course that means that like when it malfunctions, they're just stuck at the Tyrannosaur paddock, and they're totally, you know, fucked. They can't do anything about it, and there's no locking mechanisms on the door, so people can just jump out. So it's like they sort of establish that he just gets really giddy and excited about things, but he sort of misses some of the important details. And of course there's the whole thing that you know, they make it so the dinosaurs can't breed, but because they use frog DNA they end up
lost in the details, right?
Yeah. And by the way, the film is wrong. The frogs and the dinosaurs do not reproduce asexually. They reproduce parthenogenically. Okay.
Right. Of course.
That is they're not an amoeba splitting off a piece of them. It's parthenogenesis.
So, yeah, I also kind of got that like old man, but like immature, you know, heart, kind of like child at heart, but not quite as not quite as harmless as like a child at heart type of person you might think of. And
he's
yeah, it is very interesting.
With
it's
like a ton of money. He's got power.
It's like you just gave you know, a 12-year-old a machine gun and said go kill you know, Nazis or whatever, right? Like the money is lost.
And that's Jeff Goldblum's line, right?
Yeah.
About like you wield it with all the caution of a kid that found his dad's gun.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess that is his line. Anyway, and so it's like very much this person had this great idea, but never really had the wherewithal to follow through on all of the very important details. And as someone who does that for a living, let me tell you, and so as someone who deals with people like Hammond for a living,
I bet it's probably pretty realistic.
Yeah, like that was the most realistic part of the film, of someone who's like, I have this great idea, and I sit down with them and go, okay, I'm going to teach you about physics today. You see, gravity is always going down, and there is nothing you can do about that. And they're like, oh, but I want to make someone go down faster than gravity. You can't.
This is very exciting. Why don't you go ahead and just sell out the various employers that you are referring to, and we can have you, you know, fired from your job.
No, I mean, I'm not talking about anybody in particular, and I've never had that exact conversation. But it is very much like you have to sit down and be like, hey, like this is actually something, like this is not possible. We can do this, and we can get close, and we can, you know, make these things. But then also we have to be like, hey, safety is very important. Like we have to make sure that we're doing this safely. Like, I love your idea, but the ramifications of this and the risk involved is very high, and it's going to be very expensive to mitigate those risks, right?
Yes.
And that's, that's a thing. Like, all of that was like in the movie, probably, in a world where this happens, someone would sit down with him and be like, hey, I love your idea, but you have to understand that in order to mitigate these risks, it's going to be very expensive, and you're going to have to spend a lot of time on things, and the doors have to lock on the vehicles, so you can't just get up and walk out of the vehicle into the dinosaur park where all the dinosaurs are. You know what I mean? And you can't just have an exposed 10,000-volt fence where people can just walk up to it and touch it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
these are all things that, like, you can't do that.
And of course, that's sort of a lot of the satire inherent to the film about, like, how people just go to there's a ton of OSHA violations from the start, right? From the word go. But he goes to basically this, island off the coast of Costa Rica, which, like, who even owns this island? Like, what's the jurisdiction here? He's just trying to bypass all that, and he keeps complaining about how he doesn't like lawyers and all that stuff. So it's that also might just be Spielberg projecting, because there's a running joke where Spielberg doesn't like lawyers. He named the shark in Jaws after his lawyer, etc., etc. So
that's pretty funny. So yeah, overall movie was I think good. I think not my cup of tea. Does that make sense? Like, not something I would just watch for fun by myself or suggest to the group, hey, let's watch Jurassic Park.
And is it mostly just because it was too slow in the beginning?
I think a little bit. There was a moment where I was like, how sacrilegious would it be if I watched this at 1.5 speed? Because I'm dying.
That's so interesting. Because
and again, maybe it's my fucking internet brain that's been rotted away by fucking YouTube and all that shit for years. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's my problem. Maybe I'm the problem.
That's it. That's correct. Yes. Because I've been trying to keep it pretty neutral, but you're fucking wrong.
Yeah, well, I think we can all enjoy what we enjoy.
Of course.
And truth be told, like, I'm trying to be better about sitting down and watching movies. So, yeah. Maybe this will help. Maybe having a reason to force me to sit down.
Or you'll just be resentful of the fact that you're having to sit down and watch the movie, and so you'll hate it, even though, like, if you had sat down and watched it on your own, you might actually have liked it.
No.
Yeah,
I would never.
mean, that's definitely happened to me in film school.
Oh, fair. You were like,
I was
this
like,
would be a good movie.
I really want to be at home right now, but I have to be in this fucking screening for this class. Jesus.
This would be a great movie if I didn't have to watch it.
Yeah.
Maybe there was a level of that. Maybe like if I had organically come to watch Jurassic Park for whatever reason, maybe I would have enjoyed it a little bit more.
I think there is with these, like, big famous movies, there is always a little bit of, like, a little bit of contrarianism that you have to overcome, because I've definitely been I'm that way with The Godfather.
Yeah.
I need to sit down and watch it. It's just so long. It's such I have to set aside an entire afternoon to watch The Godfather, and I'm sure I would enjoy it if I did, like, actually give it the time of day, but I got Japanese to study, and
you're right.
So
I the other thing I think is, like, I can't say I was 100% like, oh, I'm gonna watch a movie tonight when I like got up today and when I, like, went about my day and stuff. So I think to some extent there was a little bit of that as well, and there's all these, like, external factors that come into how much you enjoy a film or enjoy anything, really. So I don't want to be too harsh on the movie. I don't think it was a bad movie. I don't think it was not entertaining, especially once it kind of started to pick up, and when Jeff Goldblum got a little quippy and stuff like that. Like, it was fun,
off.
and it was definitely it was definitely it was definitely a fun flick, and I think like if it was on and like I was in a group of people and they were like, "Oh, we want to watch Jurassic Park," I wouldn't be
You
like,
would.
"No,
Yeah.
we can't watch Jurassic Park. I hate that movie." You know, like
Uh-huh.
no. And I totally understand why people like it. I just think for me, like, I don't know that I would necessarily have. I don't know if I will ever necessarily go out of my way to watch it again, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, maybe I'll watch it again if somebody wants to watch it. Like if I'm hanging out with people that want to watch Jurassic Park, sure, I'll probably watch it with them. But I don't know that I would necessarily go out of my way to watch it again.
Now, one other question that I had was, what's your understanding of this film in relation to like visual effects?
Yeah, so it is interesting. Obviously, the graphics have aged a bit. But my understanding is like a lot of the graphics in this were pretty groundbreaking at the time.
Yes, well, it was like CG doing creatures. This was the one that started
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
As opposed to like doing liquid metal Terminators or things like that.
Right.
And originally it was going to be stop motion.
Right.
But they did some tests at ILM and were able to put something together that actually made it interesting. And like I think one of the things that I think is so great about the movie, and it sounds like maybe you might disagree, is that there are so few visual effects shots in it, because it means that the story sort of takes and the characters sort of take priority.
Yeah.
Because in addition to like the CGI, there's also a bunch of puppets, and one thing that you'll hear a lot of people say is the reason this movie holds up is because of the puppets. And while that's certainly true, I think that that's a bit of a lazy criticism, because the reason that the movie holds up is because the filmmaking is good, the craft is there, like the choice of shots, the way in which the editing, like in the T-Rex paddock scene, for example, which we haven't spoken about quite a lot, which is really interesting because it's sort of, I think, the showstopper.
Like the apex. Yeah.
Like the mise en scène and the editing and the way that it builds tension through sound and showing you a little bit and then you see a little bit more and then the goat falls, that sort of thing. That's all why that works. And a bunch of lazy people will say that CG is worse than practical effects always. And I am a big proponent of practical effects, but it is not always better. Like the Planet of the Apes reboots that came out a few years ago, like you cannot make a human being look like a chimpanzee. You cannot do that. That is not possible. Through the CG, they were able to do that, and I defy someone to tell me that it would look better if everyone was in a costume.
Right.
And in the case of this movie, I really contend that it's the filmmaking. In modern movies where you have 3,000 visual effects shots and there's shit flying at the screen, like it's just you're not reacting to the fact that it's CG. You're reacting to the fact that it's just like throwing shit at you and thinking that you're a fucking idiot who's gonna clap and oh look, it's all this stuff flying at the screen. Whereas I think that the fact that this movie shows restraint and Spielberg is famous for that with Jaws, because the shark didn't work in Jaws, so he had to sort of shoot around it. But it is like, in this case, it's much more intentional than Jaws, and it's not as present in this as it is in Jaws, where they're shooting around everything. But I think that the intentionality of it is what makes it great, instead of just throwing money at the problem until it's solved. So.
Sure. And I will say that like there are some like for I'm not a movie person. I'm not a film I don't have a film degree.
Which is why you have a job.
Yeah. Yes. I don't, I'm not very good at like critiquing film extremely like on an extreme deep level artistically or anything. But I will say the cinematography is not anything. I did not have any problem with the cinematography in this movie. It is not anything I would complain about, obviously. Like, I think there's a reason why this film is considered, like, the high status that it has, the great, filmography and everything that it has is because, I think the shooting of the film, I think the, the actual, composition of the shots and the way that they used visual storytelling is actually excellent in the film, and I think it's probably the high point of the film. It's a very good monster movie for that reason, in that it doesn't go full Cloverfield where you don't see the monster like until the very end.
Right.
But it doesn't go like it's not like I'm trying to think of a good example, a good like counter example. It's not like a movie where the monster is just kind of out and then it's like, oh, okay, well, that's the monster and that's the thing you're gonna see the whole film. It's like it's like in that kind of in between where it's like, okay, well, the monsters are here and then they're gone, and you see like an eyeball, or you see like kind of part of its head or part of its tail or whatever, right? And it takes time for it to build up to like those couple of tense moments, like in the T-Rex paddock where you just see little bits of the dinosaur, little hints that it's there before it really kind of barrels into the scene and takes up all of this space and is like, oh shit, it's a big old T-Rex. And then the same with the kitchen scene with the raptors, where it's like, okay, you kind of like see the raptors poking their heads around, and then oh shit, there's two of them, and like, you know what I mean?
They know how to open doors. Fuck.
They know how to open doors. Right after she said they didn't know how to open doors. This is great. And so, I do think that the monster film, the monster movie elements of the movie were very good. I do think that some of the shots that they had were really nice. And I like the location, too. Like, I thought, like, truth be told, I think that island looks like a really nice place to, like, have a vacation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is very nice.
Maybe without the dinosaurs.
Yes.
But
the good news is that there are no Tyrannosaurus Rexes in Hawaii. So
was it filmed in Hawaii?
Yeah, I've been there. It was at Kaluha Ranch, I think is the name of it. Yeah.
Oh man.
I drove around on an ATV.
It's supposed to be like Costa Rica though, right? Like in the movie?
Yeah, it's like it's an island off the coast of Costa Rica.
Okay.
Off the coast of Costa Rica.
Yes.
What's funny is the footage of the hurricane coming in is actually a real hurricane that actually
that's
hit the crew
interesting.
whenever they were just like, well, let's just take the camera out and film the real hurricane because we got footage.
That's excellent. So you mean like the hurricane coming, like the film,
like the footage of like the waves crashing up against the coast. that was all just like a real hurricane, because they were actually shooting in Hawaii. And then an actual hurricane came in, and they're like, well, we'll just go outside and start shooing.
Lovely. So that's how they got all of the, like, establishing shots and stuff for the...
Yes,
for
exactly.
the hurricane. That's cool.
I mean, there's only, like, a couple of shots, but, it's still...
But that's still kind of fun.
Yeah, it is fun. And there was sort of a fun anecdote about the fact that they were, like... Pretty much everybody on the crew was like holed up in their hotel, and there was no power, and everyone was sort of freaked out. But Richard Attenborough, who plays Hammond, was just like sort of nonplussed, and someone walked up to him and was like, Mr. Attenborough, why you seem like you're not upset by this at all? Like, aren't you scared? And he was like, my dear lad, I survived the Blitz. I was like, okay, very good.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Stiff upper lip and all that. So
right. That's funny.
Well, yeah. So I think this has been a productive conversation.
Yeah, you want to? Are we gonna like number score? Do we want to give a number score? I know. I don't typically love the concept of number scores, but I feel like we've justified it enough that we can say, like, look at the review holistically. My number may not be the same as your number. The things that are important to me may not be as important as they are to you.
Yeah, go ahead and lay it on me.
I think like 7.5 or 8, maybe. A few points off for it just being a little over a little bit too much wordy exposition in the top of the film. But I think a lot of points for good filmography, good sound design. Obviously, I feel like we didn't really even talk about the soundtrack, but obviously it's like one of those, great soundtracks of that era of like that era of films, right?
John Williams.
Yeah, old John Williams. And then, interesting story that I think is maybe a little bit unexpected for like, oh, this is a monster movie. Oh, actually, it's like this guy who was disgruntled and brought down the whole thing and fucked everybody over, and 2 people died, and it's interesting. I also will say that expecting to go in and it being more of like a family, like kind of a family flick, and it being a little bit more like tense and a little bit more violent than I think I expect family films to be, was like a pleasant surprise. Because for me, like I don't really watch a lot of family films, and I'm not saying that I only watch violent movies, but like I was kind of expecting them to pull the punches a little bit more than they did.
They don't pull the punches. It's and you want like your kids' movies to be a little scary, because kids like to be scared.
Yeah.
Like
I think
people say that kids don't like to be scared. They like to be scared.
Yeah, I think it was good. I think it was better for it. I think it was better for respecting, the fact that children are going to watch this, but we're going to respect that these children can be a little scared by these raptors, but also like these children can understand that these creatures are not still with us. They can't come and kill you in your sleep or whatever.
Unless it's a cassowary. Cassowaries will fuck you up.
Exactly. So that's my take on it. 7.5, I think I'd say.
Okay,
75%.
Yeah. No, I mean that's higher than it kind of sounded like you were gonna go.
No, I liked the movie. Maybe I harped on the pacing too much, but I liked the movie. I think that I also am trying to like divorce maybe like my current, mental state, not so much saying that I'm like in a bad mood or anything, just like, trying to divorce like the fact that like it's the end of a day, it's the end of the weekend, I got to go to work tomorrow and it's kind of late, and trying to like pull myself back to what did I actually think about just the movie with like in a vacuum, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, thank you very much for joining us. This has been My Friend Alex Hasn't Seen, except now I think we can very firmly say my friend Alex has seen Jurassic Park.
Thank you.
Good night.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?